At a point in time in my life, I was doing okay, but then I ended up meeting this guy, and things were cool. And it's like 3 stages. I believe it's like the honeymoon stage, the tension stage, and then basically the explosion.
According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, an average of 3 women in the United States die at the hands of an intimate partner every day. Findings of a 2022 National Crime Victimization Survey revealed nearly half of domestic violence goes unreported to police. A 2018 survey by the Department of Public Health here in Los Angeles County indicated 20% of adult women admitted to having been physically and/or sexually abused by a partner in their lifetime. The 2021 Little Hoover Commission report on intimate partner violence concluded that California significantly lacks prevention or early intervention programs, describing the state's approach to intervention as rigid, failing to meet the needs of many, including those of modest means, those who do not speak English, and those living in rural areas. The report went on to characterize California's response to intimate partner violence as underfunded, fragmented, and incomplete. With this lack of resources, it's no wonder why so many victims are unable to escape their abusers. Isolated from loved ones, fearing retribution, nowhere to go, fearing deportation, relying on the abuser for the simplest of things, fear of losing child custody, no job, no transportation, embarrassed, ashamed. And it all started with the honeymoon phase.
And at that time in my life, I didn't know that I was in the honeymoon stage.
Neonshay Gardner is a survivor of domestic violence.
The abuse started verbally first, and at a point in time I wouldn't say anything, and at that point it was tension that was building between us, and to the point I started to talk back and argue with him, giving him what he wanted basically, because he wanted a reaction out of me. And for all the young girls out there, I just hope you guys pay attention to the signs sooner than later, because a lot of people don't make it out of domestic violence. But we were building tension, and I ended up pregnant too. February 2022 is when the abuse started. From when I was about 7 months pregnant, we were cool. He wanted to hang out with his friends that day after we went out for dinner. I didn't want him to go because, you know, when you're pregnant, you feel vulnerable, lonely, and all that. I didn't want him to leave. He wanted to leave, and from then, he attacked me. When he attacked me, he did a lot of things to me, but mainly was choking and hitting me in my lower back and in my legs. Police came, he left, or whatever, and then I wound up in a hospital because I couldn't walk because of my back was, because he socked me in my lower back. Yeah, I was 7 months pregnant, so it sucked. So I went to the hospital. I made a report thinking like, okay, let justice be served in so many words.
Unfortunately, this was not the end of Neonshay's nightmare.
I went back home. He came back too, of course, with the honeymoon phase, the sweet words and affection after the explosion. So, like I said, I was pregnant. I didn't want to be not a single mother, so much to say, but I just didn't want to be alone, so I took him back.
And with this reconciliation, the cycle had come full circle.
My daughter, he didn't put his hands on me from February all the way up until I had my daughter. I kind of felt the tension building again.
Though tension was building, this period of relative calm resulted in Neonshay deciding not to pursue legal action against her abuser. She skipped her court date, but the report had already been taken, and Nyanshe's boyfriend was arrested at work.
Me just being like, oh, we were doing so good and all this, I bailed him out. We went shopping for the house and things like that, and we were fine until later on that night. He got upset because he felt like I put him in jail. And I'm thinking all of this is behind us now, but here we are again, getting ready for another explosion.
Domestic violence, or DV, is a somewhat broad term applying to any abusive behavior occurring within a household. Intimate partner violence, IPV, specifically applies to abuse by a present or past intimate partner. A U.S. Department of Justice criminal victimization report reflected sharp increases in both DV and IPV from 2021 to 2022.
The explosion comes. I ended up having a fractured nose. My brother was on his way to my house. He ended up fighting my brother because he has me captive in a house at this point. So many words, because we live together. He wouldn't let me leave in my car or anything like that. So we go from there to him leaving again, and we officially called it quits at that point.
Despite her abuser's efforts to renew the honeymoon stage, Nyanshe decided the safety of her children came first. Though she called it quits with her abuser after being brutalized a second time, having a child together complicated Nyanshe's ability to be completely rid of him.
We were on talking terms, basically working on co-parenting, trying to figure out a way we could both be there equally for the child. But little did I know, he had other things, other intentions. He seen me doing better and things like that, and maintaining the rent without him and stuff. So he ended up getting his apartment. He's like, hey, do you mind dropping her off to me? My car's out of commission. I went to go drop her off, and when I dropped her off, I came in, we spoke for a little bit, like, oh, hey, how you been, type of conversation. And then he got upset with me. Maybe it was because he was feeling as if I moved on, because he tried to put me back in that honeymoon phase, and I didn't want to stay there with him. I thought, I'm just coming to drop my daughter off. It shouldn't be a big deal, you know? But he wouldn't let me leave in the amount of time that I was there. I would say I was there for about 45 minutes. So he ended up getting upset, and he called me a bitch. And I felt disrespected, so I called him a bitch back. And he socked me so many times I can't even remember, all in my face, to where I kept screaming and yelling for him to stop.
Once her abuser had exhausted himself and had realized what he'd done to her face, allowing Nyanshe to leave and let others see the brutality he'd inflicted on her was out of the question for him.
So when he finally gained control of himself and he realized what he did and he seen my face, he didn't want me to leave. So at this point, I feel like it's fight or flight mode for me that's kicking in, because I haven't even seen my face yet, but he's like, oh, I'm sorry, all in my face and stuff. And I go to the bathroom, like I could feel the knots in my eyes from when he socked me. So yeah, I go to the bathroom, I'm looking at my face, and I'm like, look what you did, this, that, and the other. I'm looking for my phone and my keys, because of course during that time it was knocked out of my hands for me trying to stop him from attacking me. So it really sucked because my daughter was there. So and now I'm feeling like uncomfortable, like I don't want to leave her there, but then I have no choice because he's still like in a rage because I keep crying in the mirror over my face. He's begging me to stay at his house until my face heals. He didn't want anybody to see what he had did to me.
Nyanshe waited for what must have seemed like an eternity. When the moment finally arrived, she made her escape.
I ended up getting out the house, running. I didn't go directly to my car because I knew he would be on his way to my car too as well, so I just took off running. And then after a while, I hid behind some stairs. He ended up in jail for 3 months after that. I ended up losing my apartment because I wasn't able to go to work because the way my face looked. It took my face about 3 weeks to get back to regular. I had yet again another fractured nose. I had deep scratches in my neck. I wasn't presentable enough to go outside.
After losing everything, Neonshay moved in with her brother.
I had my 2 kids, my 10-year-old and my 1-year-old at the time.
After his release from jail, her abuser offered to watch their 1-year-old daughter while she got back on her feet. Reluctantly, Neonshay agreed. But when the time came for her to pick up their daughter, all hell broke loose.
We ended up fighting. This time, I call it the battered woman syndrome because after so many times of you going through domestic violence or abuse, or even if it's mental abuse, you have a breaking point. So this time when I broke, I messed up, and I don't want to say it like that because no one should put their hands on anyone, whether it be female or male. But I ended up putting my hands on him.
After having suffered at the hands of her abuser, Neonshay experienced what experts call reactive abuse, violently responding to abuse in a fight-or-flight response. Neonshay's reactive abuse during the confrontation resulted in unexpected consequences. Following the altercation, Neonshay was arrested. Once she was released from jail, she wasn't sure where to turn in the Antelope Valley after the cycle of abuse had spun out of control.
I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything.
Making matters worse, Child Protective Services had opened a case against her after she'd lashed out at her abuser.
They wanted to take my kids and things like that. I had to sign over temporary custody to my brother because they were trying to give my son, which is no relation to my daughter's dad, to him as well as his own child.
Having lost everything else, Neonshay now faced losing her children, and she knew she needed help. Luckily, she crossed paths with the Community Action League, or TCAL, which helped her begin to rebuild her life.
The Community Action League reached out to me, told me that they would help me get a car. That was the first step, so I was mobile and able to make it to my appointments and visit my kids on the weekends and things like that. At the same time, I had to do domestic violence classes as well. Community Action League offered me a job, so now I'm working. After me getting my car, which was a blessing too as well, which I appreciate. And then my CPS case closed in February, and then Community Action League helped me get my apartment, which I'm at now, more stable, more mentally aware, and learning to grow in places that I didn't expect to have to grow. I can't do anything but be grateful because things could have turned out worse. I could have lost my kids into the system and didn't have, nothing, literally, because my kids are my world, and I would hate for them not to be in the same household as me. But yes, Community Action League helped me get my place, got me a car, a job, to where I didn't have to worry about anything but completing my classes and focusing on my children. No better feeling than going through all that stuff and not knowing why a person is doing something to me or why this person hates me so much, to now, to where I realize and I understand I should have paid attention to the red flags.
typically only think of females as domestic violence victims, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 1 in 10 men has also been a victim of DV in their lifetime. Perhaps this is why TCAL's co-founder, Pharaoh Mitchell, takes the crisis so seriously. A childhood victim of both physical and sexual abuse, Mitchell understands the ways in which domestic violence can tear a life apart.
My DB, domestic violence, however, my first sexual experience was with my mother. She would call me in her room and ask me to give her massages. With no top on. And it started at 9 years old. The situations after that, I will not go into it. My mother was very abusive. She whipped me with extension cords. She whipped me with horse whips and anything that she could possibly use to destroy me. I went to school one day after being beat, and I had whips all over my ears, all over my face, all over my tongue. Can you believe it? My tongue. I still got the whip marks right now that she inflicted on me. And she was my first lesson on abuse. My second older brother was jealous of me. And any time that he got a chance to beat on me, he beat on me. My teeth are all messed up from him kicking me in my face, punching me and beating me. And all I remember is me begging my mother to tell him to stop beating on me. And she sat there and watched. My life was hell. My mother dared me to run away at 14 years old because she told me that even if you do run away, the rest of your brothers and sisters ran away and they always came back.
After suffering abuse from his mother and brother during childhood, he ran away from home at age 14.
I slept in the bushes in Cleveland, Ohio, while it was snowing, with no blanket, no anything, yet I refused to go home and never looked back. Never.
After becoming accustomed to abuse as a child, Pharaoh discovered a disturbing pattern as he grew older.
I got into relationships that mimicked the relationships that I was dealing with as a child. I got in relationships with women who were abusive to me as an adult.
Though homeless and living out of his car, Pharaoh managed to find construction work in Redondo Beach. While sleeping in his car at a job site, he was jumped by white locals who told him he didn't deserve to be in their neighborhood.
They beat me pretty bad. It was about 6 of them. My car broke down. I didn't have any other transportation, so I ended up on the streets. I looked up one day and it was like, damn, I don't have nowhere to go. I don't have no car, I don't have no hotel, I don't have anything. I'm gonna sleep on this park bench. So I slept on that park bench with big ass rats running under me in downtown Los Angeles.
Though he'd escaped his abusers, life didn't get much easier for Pharaoh as he learned life on the streets.
I learned crime the easy way because it was crime all around me.
Approached by 2 sex workers in need of protection, he reluctantly agreed to act as their pimp.
However, when I sent them out on the streets, they didn't make any money.
But when another pimp suggested to Pharaoh that he raise his hand to the women he was sworn to protect, that's where he drew the line and said, no more.
it's not in my heart to beat on any woman, so I couldn't hit them. So that was the ending of my breaking in houses and pimping women. That was the end.
Though seemingly in a downward spiral, a turning point was on the horizon.
The only way I escaped this cycle is I had to evolve myself. I had to change who I was and change the life lessons that I was taught, to think that this was okay and this cycle of abuse was okay. The only way that this happened is because I changed myself. I would never, ever, 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 ever want to see people go through the pain that I went through. That's why I am who I am. It taught me how we should not be victims of domestic violence. It taught me how we can take control of our lives and how we can empower other people not to go through what we went through. What changed my life was I had a businessman to come to one of our classes, and when I was in school, he came to the class and he had a beautiful assistant. And he was talking about his business. And it changed my life. To see him come in with a beautiful assistant and talk about his business, I said, I want to be an executive. I want to be a businessman. That's what changed my life. That's what put me on a different path. So I didn't listen to any of my mother's friends or anything. I said I wanted to be a businessman. And this is what led me to helping my community and building the Community Action League.
As a community and justice activist today, one of Pharaoh Mitchell's top priorities is rescuing women and children from abuse and trafficking in the Antelope Valley, then transforming their lives. To this end, TCAL is providing comprehensive support, education, and empowering survivors to take back their lives. Through its domestic violence support and classes, personal and professional development, creative and emotional healing, the Community Action League is healing lives. But the victims who depend on TCAL's help depend on your help. The need is great, and without your support, its resources are strained. Join hands with the Community Action League in its mission of one vision, one community, one action by giving today. Victims of domestic violence and human trafficking need a hero. Be the one to help free them from the cycle of abuse so they can achieve the lives they deserve. Be the one to empower and transform broken lives. Be the one to bring them hope and healing with your generous donation. Please, give today.
Hi, my name is Christina, and I am a DV victim. I have to share on how grateful and thankful and blessed I feel to be in the presence of Pharaoh Mitchell and the Community Action League. What they have done for me and my family is life-changing. It's overwhelming. It is that help, that breath of fresh air that all DV victims yearn for and pray for. When you are trying to be self-sufficient, when you are trying to push forward for yourself and for your kids and for your future. And they're helping me with employment. They've helped me relocate me, and the amount of support and the assistance and the care that they have for you and other DV victims, and just for the community in general. It's life-changing. I can't put it any other way. And I feel so blessed, and I am so blessed, and I'm so grateful for you, Farrell, and for the Community Action League. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank you.
Hello, my name is Jolisa Williams. I am a domestic violence victim. I was actually referred to the Community Action League, and Farrell Mitchell was able to direct me, give me some type of comfort, really helped me out a whole lot. I'm really blessed and happy that I'm able to work with him and him working with me in my situation. He's really a blessing. He's been helping me and provided a lot of assistance for me. I am very grateful that he was able to assist me with my rent as well as my utilities, because they were on the way of getting shut off. So Farrell Mitchell, again, I really appreciate you, and I'm very blessed to run into your organization. The Community Action League really is a good program, and I will recommend anybody to go there.
My name is Leilani, and I would like to thank the Community Action Program for helping me with my rental assistance. After my domestic violence situation, I unfortunately exhausted all of my funds on moving away, and the move consists of, having to stay in hotels and food and everything, all the stuff that I had to pay for, and being in between homes and everything. And so with this program, I was able to catch up on my rent and not be behind anymore, and ensure the stability with my home and my kids' home also, and give us that peace of mind and safety that we don't have to deal with that abuse anymore, and deal with the financial burden of having to move and everything, not jeopardizing us being able to maintain this move. So I very much appreciate it, and I'm very grateful for our safety and for the resources that we were given to be able to accomplish, coming out of this well and okay. I am happy to be a survivor, and I am happy that the Community Action did give us help, because it's very hard to find help in situations like this, and this is all that I needed, was a little bit of help, and so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
So my domestic violence situation, I was in DV with one of my child's fathers, and we used to take care of the kids. It was all smooth. When you first get into a relationship, you think everything is fit, the fairy tale life that you want. So as time is going on, he's getting angry, he's yelling at the kids. So our relationship took a toll on us, and I believe he got into drugs and things like that, and he'll come home and just shit for no reason. He used to put his hands on me, he would grab me, choke me, slap me, and he didn't care too much about how I feel, how the kids feel. So it was a lot of damper on me with that situation. And I mean that they're a tremendous help. They're helping me get my car back, because I had got a repo. They're helping me with housing, getting my bills and stuff back in place where I was at before the domestic violence that I fled from.
So I was molested as a child, and unfortunately I was raped in high school, and then I got into a very domestic violence situation as, later in life. But you know what? The grateful thing about this is I'm not a victim, I'm victorious because I overcame it. I'm so excited that you're stepping into the arena, not only being a community activist, which you've been forever, but dealing with the issue of domestic violence. And domestic violence is sometimes it's generational. It can go through from your mom from your grandmother to your mom to you. And then we don't want it to go any further into our descendants after us. So we're going to stop it here right now.
I met Farrell Mitchell through being homeless on the bus stop, not having a place to go, going through domestic violence, been sitting there for the past 2 days, really homeless. Not knowing that he can help me. He stated that he has an organization that can help me get a job, better myself. He took me off the streets. I have a place to stay. He gave me a phone, and plus I have a job, which makes it 10 times better. And through T-Cal helping, it keeps me stable and making sure that I go further on in life and I'm not afraid anymore, and I'm so much freer than I was. Thanks to Farrell Mitchell and T-Cal and his organization, I couldn't did it by myself.
I recently had my kids taken about 2-3 years ago, and recently just got them back within the 2-3 years. My DV started was because of my children's father. I came to Farrell Mitchell for help, so T-Cal did help me in any and every type of way that they can. T-Cal helped me get my place. I'm getting back on my feet. I just got my kids back, and I'm still working my butt off till this very day to make sure my kids is safe and sound.
It was bad. The community actually really helped me. The domestic violence I went through, the father of my kids was trying to kill me in front of my kids. My kids tried to jump in and help, and DCFS ended up taking my kids because they tried to jump in and help me for domestic violence. They made my life a living hell, and I was the victim. So it was really frustrating. So the DCFS, they gave my kids to the father that hurt me and had the case open on us. And the Community Action League, they stepped in and they helped me. They helped me get a car. They helped me get a place. They helped me attend my classes. They helped me get a job. And I'm so thankful for the Community Action League. Farrell Mitchell really helped me. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so proud that they're actually helping other women like that, like me. And I know a lot of women out there that needs help like me, and they're doing it. They're out there in the trenches doing it. No other program is doing it like they're doing it, and they're actually helping. They're not sitting here promising you dreams. So I just want to say thank you so much, the Community Action League and Farrell Mitchell, for helping me and getting me out of where I was at and the violence. It means a lot. And I know my kids especially are so happy and proud of their mom. And thank you so much.
A few years ago, DCFS used false accusations to detain my children. Thanks to T-Cal, I received my children back in my custody. And during that time that I was fighting for my kids, I gave that energy back to the community to tell my story. And I told the Lancaster City Council, and they investigated DCFS.
Thank you again, Farrell Mitchell. I appreciate you so much, and everybody else that had a helping hand along the way too. Thank you. Bye-bye.